I realized last night when I essentially do 3 shows after a slate. Do the Tilt Space show, then I do the Splash Play podcast with Spags late on Sundays, and then I come and do this one. And so if you have a good week, it's fun, right? You're just kind of taking your victory laps around the internet. Oh, yeah, over here on Tilt Space, grand old time, Splash Play pod, things going good. Monday lineup review, this is fun. And then you have a bad week, and you realize it's just a masochistic stroll through the internet. It's like, oh, yeah, oh, no, I still have to wake up tomorrow and talk about my shitty lineups. I think the thing that killed me this week is I got teased hard. I had some really nice things going on early. I'll pull up my lineups here in a second. I hit on KJ Hamler in my main SPY lineup. When you're 3K wide receiver, almost 8Xs, you're starting to think, hey, it's going to be a pretty good day. My lineups, Eric, were so extremely correlated. I mean, the correlation was just absolutely through the roof. It's incredible that I don't win. Did you guys see the winning Millie Maker lineup last night? 2 sets of teammates, no bring back. David Montgomery, Allen Robinson, no Texan. Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, no Jacksonville Jaguar. Now that's correlation. That is giving correlation the middle finger, the double bird it deserves. That's the Josh Jacobs of lineups. Josh Jacobs, man, he trolled us good. He trolled us good. No, none of my lineups were duped. I would never allow myself to be duped. Ever. Let's look at the spreadsheet. I updated the spreadsheet ahead of time. You know how it is? Like sometimes when things are going good, I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to get some green on the spreadsheet. We can do that live. People love watching me update my spreadsheet in real time. It's kind of like ASMR, but for DFS. Everyone be quiet. Peter's about to peck away at his spreadsheet, where you can tell he's so self-satisfied that he was able to figure out just the most basic conditional formatting, but it makes him feel like he's better at Excel than he actually is. I played both of the SPYs, the 5,555, the 2,222, came up just short. I was cashing in the main big SPY almost the whole day yesterday. And then the wheels came off. In the baby SPY, I never really was there. The second lineup, this lineup here from the 2,222, it had Derrick Henry in it. I played a lineup with Derrick Henry. Basically what happened, how does someone like me, noted Derrick Henry hater, I mean, I just so despise the guy. I would never get caught dead with the Derrick Henry lineup when he's over 25% owned. I was playing this Russ double stack against the Jets like every which way. I was doing it with Lockett and Metcalf. I was doing it with Metcalf and Hollister. I was doing it with a bringback. I was doing it without a bringback. I was late swapping off it. I had it so many different ways that I was like, you know what? We can do one Russ double with the big dog in it. So we bricked out this week. Someone on Twitter, I wrote a post about how I had a bad week. And they said, can I see the screenshot? Someone wanted to see the screenshot. I was like, all right, if it makes you feel better. Joker said, can I see the screenshot? I show him my screenshot, $832 in play, $18 in winnings. And he liked it. Feel better now. You are the man. That's all I have to do. I'm the man if I just post my losing screenshots. I should have been doing this all along. Speaking of screenshots, Joe Holka, my man, Joe Holka, turned $730 last night into $59,288, $298. I can't talk. 2 lineups, 666 score from Joe Holka in the chat. How the hell do you do shows this early on a Monday, Pete? Well, I have a day job, Joe, and I have to squeeze it in before that. This also feels like a very good time to mention that Joe and I are doing short showdown cram shows now on our channels. Tonight at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, Joe and I will be talking about this Browns-Ravens game, and I will pick the mind of the true showdown thought leader. To think I was once considered a showdown thought leader, and now I got Joe over here just dunking all over my face. We'll be picking the mind of Joe Holka about this slate, 7:30 p.m. Eastern tonight. You guys can tune in for that, and then on Thursdays, we're on Joe's channel. Really glad I didn't dupe you, Pete. Do wish I duped Joe. I know. We all wish we duped Joe. You talk about lineup or contest selection. So this one that Joe was in, the one where he won the $55,000, his lineup was only duped 3 times. 3 people had that lineup. In the big showdown one, I believe it was duped 170 times. In the big one, like maybe it was the $8. I don't know which one it was. But yeah, you have to be conscious of dupe size, dupe amounts, depending on the contest size you're in. But congratulations to Joe for an absolutely sick win. What was I talking about here? Back to me. I don't want to talk about Joe Holka's $55,000 win. I don't want to talk about Michael Leone winning a Q worth $66,000. I want to talk about me. I want to talk about my Russ lineups that gave me the biggest blue balls. Let's look at this one. Let's look at this. Here's the lineup. In the SPY, 141.24 points. In the early games, we had Rojo, DeAndre Washington, Tyreek Hill, Robbie Anderson, KJ Hamler. In the late games, we had the Russ Wilson stack to Hollister and Metcalf, and no bring back. No bring back. And I don't want this to get twisted because we've had a lot of conversations about bringbacks. I don't want to get labeled a no bring back guy. Do not call me no bring back Pete. I still believe in the power of correlation in bring back. However, this was a unique case where the $3,000 pump wide receiver I was thinking about was Braxton Berrios. Obviously, it would make sense as a Jets bring back here. And I would have gone with him if Crowder was not looking like he was going to be active. The reports were kind of mixed. It sounded like he might just be an emergency option, yada, yada. It was enough to give me pause. And I also really liked Hamler. And I thought, okay, it's another $3,000 wide receiver. I think that their target projection is probably roughly similar. And I get the benefit of the doubt of getting the information early in 1 p.m. to know how my 3K wide receiver does. That information ended up being very helpful. I did the little correlation there with Robbie Anderson and Hamler. That worked out great. The 3 wide receivers, these were the things I felt pretty good about in my lineup. I actually felt good about most of this. The 2 things I don't feel good about are the running back stuff, and we're going to talk about that. But one of my things that was dawning on me yesterday when we were talking through the slate was that Robbie Anderson was just an absolute smash, and he was projected for almost double the ownership everywhere else. And he was projecting well in optimals, but the way the slate was breaking, it was one of those weeks we were getting a very studs and duds heavy construction. And it was funneling around a very specific chunk of plays. People were using DeAndre Washington and a punt wide receiver to be able to play 2 of basically Adams, Kelsey, and the big dog. And that meant that these kind of mid-tier and upper mid-tier wide receivers like Tyreek Hill, like DK Metcalf, like Keenan Allen, like Robbie Anderson were really flying under the radar. people were going down to Kuti and Robbie Anderson if they wanted to save. They were getting up to Adams. And I felt pretty strongly that Robbie was going to come in way under-owned what he should be. I mean, a 6,200 wide receiver without DJ Moore against the Broncos, I think that's worth, 20 to 25% ownership. So I feel good about getting him at 9.2%. Hamler, feel good about correlating him. He was correlated. Feel good about that. Tyreek Hill was another guy. I'm like, everyone's going to play Adams or Kelsey. If you're playing a Chief, people are going to play Kelsey. And if you're paying up for wide receiver, they're going to pay for Adams. So I thought Tyreek Hill coming in at 10% here was very nice. I got the upside I was looking for. Let's talk about the running backs, though. Enough of the Hollister. Here's the thing. We talked about this on the Tilt Space last night with Leone, because Leone, earlier in the week, we were kind of arguing about Disley versus Hollister. I think Leone said he ended up coming around on Hollister. Tight end is gross. We talk about this a lot. Speaking of correlation, if you're not, paying up for a premium option, you generally should just be correlating your tight end with your quarterback. I'm trying to get a monster ceiling game from Russ Wilson. If that happens, one of the tight ends probably has a decent game. It ended up being Disley getting the touchdown. You're kind of flipping coins with those tight ends. So I will take heat for a lot of stuff. Not going to take heat for the Hollister play. Let's see here. So the two running back plays, the Rojo thing was frustrating to me. He was a play I've wanted to play all week. I think I talked about him on the Swolecast. I thought it just set up as a great tournament option in this game. And then Leonard Fournette is ruled out. And I'm mad that I didn't get off of Rojo when Fournette was ruled out, because before I was going to get Ronald Jones at 5%. And when Fournette is ruled out, basically nothing changes. If you pull up his snap share, nothing really changed. He was still kind of going to be that game script dependent running back who, if they were playing with a lead, was going to have a good game. I mean, even Leone, who does his projections, he said he tweaked the projection a little bit, but nothing insane, because basically all they were saying is, all right, LaShawn McCoy and Keyshawn Vaughn are now going to take over what Fournette was doing in passing downs. It didn't meaningfully change Ronald Jones's projection, but it meaningfully changed his ownership in a way that I should have been off of him. I liked Ronald Jones at 5%. I do not like him at 22.2%. And I was anchored to that play. And we even on the line movement show, when we got to the Colts, I'm sitting there looking at Jonathan Taylor, and this isn't hindsight bias, but he was similarly priced. I think he was 5,800. And I said to myself, I should probably shift some of my Ronald Jones exposure to Jonathan Taylor. Similar upside, similar play, but is going to come in now at less ownership. And I'm mad at myself for sticking with Ronald Jones, knowing that his ownership was on the rise. I should have been more reactive to that. I think what happened to me too was I didn't like a lot of running backs on this slate. I had a really hard time finding running backs I liked. Going into before inactives, I basically had 3 running backs I liked. I liked DeAndre Washington, I liked Ronald Jones, and I liked Mike Davis. Those were kind of my 3 guys that I was cycling through. And DeAndre Washington was a guy that I just kept getting funneled to, right? Because I found myself jamming in these expensive wide receivers, Tyreek, Metcalf. You have to save money somewhere. And I thought DeAndre Washington was going to get pretty much exactly what Myles Gaskin would have gotten. And we can debate whether we think Gaskin's a better talent, yada, yada. But I felt pretty comfortable with his touch projection there. And it ended up being about true. What did he have? Like 14 carries, 3 targets. I think that's about what we would expect. 17 touches in a high-scoring game from a $4,000 running back. Sign me up. The ownership didn't get out of control. My issue with DeAndre Washington isn't in a vacuum as a single play. It's that I was heavily exposed to him across all my lineups. I think I had one lineup where I didn't have him in it. And that goes back to that thing of how easy it is to get funneled toward specific types of constructions. And I was able to make pivots off of other plays. Like, I'm very happy with the overall ownership in this lineup. I think that this ownership gives me a chance to win first. But I don't like that in my overall portfolio, I just kept being like, well, I guess I'll keep tossing in DeAndre Washington. I don't know. It goes back and forth. The Leone and Karain, they had their podcast talking about diversification and how if we think about the entire season as this bigger thing, we do want to push the edges where we have them. I guess the thing is I didn't feel like DeAndre Washington was this huge edge. I just thought he was a perfectly suitable play at 4,000. Yeah, that entire game, a lot of people who played Gesicki and obviously Gesicki, but Tua as well was one of the highest scoring QBs on the slate, if not the highest scoring on the slate. So yeah, I mean, my big process things of learning from this lineup were I should have been more reactive to Ronald Jones. I've been very cognizant of decreasing ownership on Sundays, like what I thought we were getting from Tyreek Hill and Robbie Anderson. Good job, Pete. Good job identifying that. I did a very bad job of identifying increasing ownership on Ronald Jones, right? Because it's funny how the first one like confirms my biases. I want to play these guys. The ownership's dropping. I want to play Ronald Jones. The new information comes in, doesn't confirm my bias of wanting to play Ronald Jones this week. That was a mistake. I should have gotten, I think probably what I end up doing if I have that epiphany more is I probably get off Robbie Anderson. I probably pivot Ronald Jones to Mike Davis to keep the Mike Davis Hamler correlation. And then that leaves me, 5,900, it looks like, for a wide receiver. I probably go down to Ayuk, who is one of my favorites, and I probably go up to a premium defense or something like that. That's probably what I do if I am thinking more mindfully about the ownership change on Ronald Jones. Oops, where are we? Oh, someone asked a question and then it disappeared. Oh no, here it is. How do you balance ceiling versus salary relief? How much of an opportunity cost are you willing to take? Yeah, I mean, it was something I thought about with having, I think we had in another, maybe one of our tilt space lineups, we had a Barrios and Hamler where you have two $3,000 guys. I do think, obviously, in general, with some of these cheaper guys, you are sacrificing ceiling. Although with Hamler, though, there's always exceptions, right? I believe he only had 3 targets and 2 of them went for touchdowns. So actually showed a pretty nice ceiling. But I know what you're saying, Chris. And we're not building a cash lineup. We're not trying to get the highest floor here. But to me, where I'm getting ceiling is with Russ, with Ronald Jones, with Tyreek Hill, with Robbie Anderson, with DK Metcalf. So it's less about the plays that aren't giving you ceiling and more about how many plays are you getting in that do give you ceiling. And I thought these 4 wide receivers in particular all had really nice ceilings. And they hinted at it here. I think Robbie could have had a bigger day. And DK Metcalf, I mean, he sits the entire fourth quarter. Obviously, Devontae Adams is a better play. But if you hit on the Russ to DK and they go off and the Jets are able to keep it just moderately close, you can see how I could have gotten a ceiling from all those guys there. And that's kind of what I'm thinking about. Yeah, I'm 100% still saying this. That's my entire point. I had this exact same thought when ownership locked at 1 p.m. and I saw it. I kind of knew it was coming and I still didn't do it. It was a process mistake. Ronald Jones' score here is fine. 15.4 from a 6,100 running back. Ronald Jones didn't sink this lineup. It is strictly process. I was locked into Ronald Jones thinking 5 to 10% ownership and then did not change. Did you feel like Herbert got steamed on Sunday morning, was looking like 5 to 8 coming in and Allen around 9 to 12, and then they both came in around 20%? I did. We ended up playing Herbert in one of our tilt space lineups, but I didn't play him. I built 5 lineups here And I can go over to my spreadsheet over here, but I saw Herbert's coming up here because he was down there in the 5 range, and I thought he looked really interesting. And as he started to come up, he became less interesting to me. I thought he was still a good play, but he wasn't flying under the radar anymore. Let's see here. Who was the 3K pivot off of Berrios in the late games? I waited until later to swap and panicked and swapped to Jeff Smith. I don't think there was a better at 3K price. Why don't we jump over to this other lineup, because I actually did do a pivot here. I did do a pivot with Berrios, actually, I believe. I need to pull up. It's funny. Sometimes I do these pivots at the time and I don't even remember, but I can pull up my CSV when I had downloaded it here. Yes. Okay. This will be good to talk about because it was Berrios. So in this lineup, real quick here, this was another Russ team. This one had Metcalf. David Moore was a pivot. Before I had in here, let me read it to you. Before it was Russ Wilson, Henry, DeAndre Washington. So that was the same. And then I had Braxton Berrios and Tyler Lockett that I swapped to David Moore and Terry McLaurin. So I did this for 2 reasons. One, because I was starting to feel more and more shaky about the Berrios play with Crowder active. Thought it had a pretty dangerous floor and not much ceiling. I still didn't hate it. I still think I had another lineup where I did keep Berrios. But in this one, I had just the premium double. I had the Russ, Metcalf, and Lockett. And I also consciously did the premium double in the smaller SPY, the 2,222, with the thought being, yes, these guys aren't perfectly correlated. In fact, they're probably negatively correlated, but we've seen the potential for one of them to go for 40 to 50 points. So in this size contest, I'm willing to pay the salary on Russ, Lockett, and Metcalf to try to hit that 140 to 50 point game from one of them. However, I had a bad, despite even hitting on Derrick Henry early, I had DeAndre Washington flop. I had DJ Chark flop. I had Jordan Akins flop. And so I didn't think I had the luxury of kind of wasting a spot on whichever of Metcalf and Lockett didn't do well and wasting a spot on a low ceiling play in Braxton Berrios. I thought I needed to cover ground. So I thought going down from Lockett to David Moore, not for ownership concerns, but just to stay correlated, to stay making a bet there, but much cheaper, and then able to move Berrios up to McLaurin as a one-off who could give me a really big ceiling. I feel good about that swap. Obviously, it doesn't work out. McLaurin doesn't do anything. The David Moore one did good because I basically got in the points I was hoping to give from Berrios and then saying like, hey, can Terry McLaurin, outscore Lockett while Metcalf still gets a ceiling? That's kind of the thesis of that there. One thing that also really hurt is I ended up having the 49ers in both of these lineups. Definitely happy getting, the 49ers at home versus Alex Smith at, 4%. But man, I think it was very close between them and the Washington D. I mean, here I had $0. Here I had, what did I have over here? Why am I not seeing it here? If I had the 100, I probably should have split these two. I probably should have done one Washington and one Niners. That's another thing too about diversifying the defenses when it's so random. But yeah, so I don't know, not too much. You guys giving me crap about playing Hollister. So over here, I did do another one-off tight end. I thought Akins was fine, especially with Brandon Cooks ruled out. And yeah, this one, you hit the Derrick Henry. I did correlate him with DJ Chark. Of course I correlated him. You think I'm going to play an uncorrelated big dog? I mean, come on. Let's see here. I'm checking in on the chat. What was Allen Robinson's ownership? I think he came in really low. He was one of those mid-price wide receivers that just got lost in the shuffle because everyone was going studs and duds. Let's see here. Checking in. Leverage play off Stafford. Stack turned me into a fish. It happens. Can you pick apart my bankroll lineup when you get a chance? Yeah, we'll hop over to the bankroll challenge here in a second. Yes, mentioned this earlier. Joe and I on my channel, 7:30 p.m. Eastern tonight. We'll be doing a showdown cram, 15 to 20 minutes, not talking as much specific plays, more general roster construction, ownership, leverage spots, just like that. Get in, get out. And then you win $55,000 like Joe Holka. Easy game. Yeah, I wouldn't say you faded Terry. I mean, we fade guys at high ownership. I mean, Terry McLaurin was at 2.3%. So that's not a fade. And, he wasn't my favorite guy, but he was, I thought, a guy that if you were behind and you had Devontae Adams in lineups, like we talked about this last night on the Tilt Space, but we were paralyzed between a Devontae Adams, Braxton Berrios versus a Terry McLaurin, Brandon Ayuk pivot. We ended up keeping Adams because our lineup was doing really well early on. We had Mike Davis, we had Hamler, and I believe it was Rojo. So all three of our early guys were doing good, and we were having a hard time knowing, did we need to chase the Henry teams, or could we have won just holding with our original thing? We literally went back and forth on it 2 or 3 times, ended up keeping the Adams side. This is the second week I've galaxy brained myself off over exposure to a smash play like the big dog. Look. The thing about the big dog is a couple things here. One, his ownership does come in lower than what was projected. I think in a single entry contest in, mid stakes like the SPY, I think most people would have projected him around 35 to 40% ownership. I think he's a perfectly fine fade at that ownership. I also think it's perfectly fine to play him if you think his ownership is going to come in lower like it did. If you are going to correlate him, try to get unique elsewhere. I mean, the reason I'm not beating myself up over playing a chalky Derrick Henry here is look at these other plays I have in here. Russ under 7%, McLaurin 2.3, David Moore 0.9, Chark 8.6. I'm mindful of the rest of the stuff. I'm not just jamming in all the chalk around him. I view Aaron Jones, I view Derrick Henry, these guys, I view them very similarly. We know they have the upside to break the slate. But when 40%, 50% of the field is making that bet, the downside risk is not baked in to that ownership. I think at 24%, though, I will agree. If the DFS gods, as my buddy Brian Hooper likes to say, if they came down from the mountaintop and said, Derrick Henry will be 24.3% in the SPY, I would say that's probably a pretty good play. What do we got here? No way Kitchens is stuck to his diet when Henry went off. Yeah, he definitely needed to treat himself to a blizzard after that. Oh, I just remembered another housekeeping thing, a few things. If you guys are watching this and haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. Please do so. Like I said, starting to do more videos, doing the showdown crams. Don't know what my off-season plans are going to be, but definitely plan to keep doing videos throughout the playoffs. We'll keep reviewing lineups, all that good stuff. So if you want to subscribe, help me out, absolutely smash it. It'd be greatly appreciated. Also, I have a link to the Discord below. And one project I want to do is I've been doing the Friday shows with guests, right? And I think there's been some really, really good nuggets in those shows. And I kind of want to put together a compilation video of some of the best strategy tips, conversations, etc. that I've had with guests. So I've already started to put the word out there to people in the Discord if they want to help me out with this project. I'm going to get us organized here. But if you are interested in that and in the Discord, feel free to go to the general discussion and find that message and hit a like on it, and then I'll know to contact you. Or if you just have a moment that you remember us talking about this year that you think was particularly impactful or helpful, just shoot me a message with the timestamp, and that would be great to know. The things I'm thinking about are these evergreen concepts, not just like a random play for a slate, but stuff like, I remember we talked with PSU fans about late swap a good amount, and he really kind of revealed why that has been such an edge, something like that. Or I remember Bales had one of those really good nuggets about the idea of playing defense from the same team as the chalk running back. thinking, if the defense hits and the running back isn't the one getting the touchdowns, you get direct leverage there on that ownership. So nuggets like that, if any of those stand out to you, I'd love to hear them. And I'd like to go back through with some of you guys and try to pull those out so we can make a video of some of those good moments. So that is that. Let me go back now. We can look at the Bankroll Challenge League. NBA Bankroll Challenge, man. I'm so intimidated by NBA DFS. Like, I would love to play, single entry NBA stuff, but it's just like the whole idea of between the time of inactives and coming out at lock and lock just night after night being this reshuffling and this scrambling and having to understand the rotations and how minutes are getting distributed. I think my mental health needs a break, but we will see. We will see. Swolecast FanDuel contest didn't fill, finished a respectable 19th. How does this contest not keep filling? I mean, I know we're awful at promoting it, but it's a rake-free 3-max contest. Kitchen played a lineup that had David Johnson in his flex. Didn't even play. That's how positive EV this contest is. Why aren't you guys playing in the Swolecast 3-max rake-free contest? I mean, it's Jim Cramer level payout structure. Just super flat. No one will dupe you. It's chill times all around. Who is the Patrick Laird of the NBA? Probably Matthew Dellavedova, my fellow underdog investor, right? Isn't Dellavedova the Patrick Laird? I know he's out now. Maybe there's a better current comp. Is there ever a situation where you fade as much correlation and try to jam in what you think are the best plays, especially in such a large slate? I think if I played more of like the lotto-sized contests, if I played the Millie Maker, a lot of the $3 play action 20 max, I think I would be throwing more correlation out the window and trying to hit, more one-off ceiling plays. But I just pretty strongly feel like in these contests that are, 5,000 people or smaller, that correlation is going to be the long-term winning strategy. I just feel pretty strongly about that. Yes, you should make a FanDuel account. I don't know why you got I don't devote as much time. Like my spreadsheet is all DraftKings salaries. Like I do that, but I go over and build my lineups on FanDuel every Sunday, 30 minutes before lock. I pull up the blitz, check the projections, run a few optimals. I already know the plays I like. It's also nice to actually use it as a hedge to some of your DraftKings exposure. And because of the scoring differences without the bonus, the half-point PPR, some plays legitimately make more sense over there. Like we actually built one lineup on FanDuel for the tilt space, and Leone was like, we have to play Ronald Jones over here. A guy that doesn't catch passes, he is worth more on FanDuel. It's why Derrick Henry is always such a good play on FanDuel too, where it's really touchdown heavy. Those big play touchdown guys that don't catch passes are better plays over there. So I think playing FanDuel is a good thing. You don't have to have massive volume over there. I play probably a tenth of the volume I play on DraftKings. But you can get some good plays in. The pricing is softer, so you get a different kind of texture of teams. You can get in some plays you wouldn't otherwise get. Hedge your DK portfolio, and you get to do the Swolecast 3-max league. I mean, what do we do? Dude, I actually played MMA on Saturday for the first time since quarantine, basically, or since football season had started. I had a good MMA slate. I should become an MMA thought leader. I thought Osimo was Alex Caruso. This is actually a good one to talk about here. When I heard Swift was playing, I thought about your injury return model. He was a great bring back. Yeah, I can't take credit for that. He wasn't popping in my injury return model. I was pretty spooked by him, to be honest. I did not buy this stuff about it being an illness and migraines that weren't in relation to the concussion. I guess it's one of those spots where you do just trust. Hey, can we trust the Lions medical team that they're not, putting him at risk? There are also reports that he was going to be limited too. So it just didn't check all the boxes I like for the injury return model. But if you had the stones to play him, I respect it. I respect it. Let's go over to the Bankroll Challenge League here. Belarusian Soccer Bankroll Challenge. Yeah, that's if we get another pandemic. There's like this TikTok meme where it's like it's probably some song I should know, but it's like, you'll never see me again. It'd be like teenagers would do it to their parents. They're like, when the pandemic's over, mom, you'll never see me again. That's like me with doing content when there's a vaccine. You'll never see me again. Just kidding. I'm sure I'll still be around. People do forget that I was the first guy on Swift. I discovered DeAndre Swift. I discovered Taylor Swift, and I discovered DeAndre Swift. Let's look at the Bankroll Challenge League, and then we'll wrap it up here. Bump, bump. Who won the Bankroll Challenge League this week? Brandon 823 with a Mitch Trubisky. Did he roll out the 3 little bears or just 2 little bears? Trubisky to Allen Robinson. Very nice. Brings it back with Chad Hansen. That's Patrick Laird's college roommate, Chad Hansen, by the way. Double tight end. Travis Kelce, Mike Gesicki. Had the 2 running backs I had, Rojo and DeAndre Washington. And then his early 1 p.m. guy, Smash. So you let it ride with Devontae Adams. This is a nice lineup. This is one of those, I think Bales would call these barbelled lineup, right? Where you had some really popular plays. Devontae Adams, Travis Kelce, although Travis Kelce doesn't come in as high here in the Bankroll Challenge League. Washington. And then he gets really unique with A-Rob, Chad Hansen, Gesicki. I don't mind, the double tight end play if it involves Kelce. I think it makes perfect sense. I mean, Kelce he has a wide receiver 1 ceiling. So if you just think of Gesicki as the flex and Gesicki as the tight end and Travis Kelce as the flex, I mean, it just makes complete sense. Although the guy who won the Millie Maker, he had Gesicki and Tyler Eifert. The dude won $1 million with Tyler Eifert in his flex. I mean, that's just wild. But I like this team. I like this team. Gesicki, Hansen, A-Rob, and Trubisky at low ownership. Jamming in some of the other best plays. Look at this, guys. We don't even have to do the are you a fish for not playing Derrick Henry? The dude won the Bankroll Challenge without Derrick Henry. I'll look at one more lineup here. I think someone wanted me third from the bottom to look at their lineup. I think it was Rich Charles, he said. Taysom Hill, naked Taysom Hill, Dalvin Cook. I mean, Dalvin Cook's ownership was insane this week. Gio Bernard, Russell Gage, nice play. Thielen doesn't get there. Godwin, Gronk, Washington, Bengals. I like this idea. It's similar. Eric Beimfor had a lineup a few weeks ago where he stacked the Steelers wide receivers without Big Ben and played the naked Taysom Hill. And you kind of did that here with you get off of Brady, who's going to give you no rushing equity. You get 2 wide receivers and you go all in on this game. But because you don't like the quarterbacks, you play the naked quarterback. I like that thought. I thought Taysom Hill still looked like a good play. I didn't really have the stomach for Jalen Hurts. But I thought Taysom Hill still offered a ton of upside at that price tag. I just don't like, on gross weeks, I don't like rolling out 3 running backs. I'd probably choose between one of Bernard and Washington. But other than that, I don't mind it. Well, here's the thing, Eric. I mean, we're talking right here about this is a 200-person field. You know, the bigger the lineups, the contest size get, the more we have to care about it. But it is true about if you have one or two plays you just want to play, you can do it. If you want to play the chalkiest, most popular guy on the slate, you can do it. You just have to be mindful as you build out the rest of your lineup. You know, and we all have our own preferences. Some of us like to start with one of those. Some of us might be like, you know what? I don't care. I want to play Derrick Henry and David Montgomery this week. Great. But then you probably aren't able to jam in all the other best chalk, or you don't want to then jam in DeAndre Washington and have more chalk, right? You can start however you want. It's just every single thing you put into your lineup then impacts the subsequent decisions you're going to make. Like on this lineup that won first place, you know, he felt comfortable eating the Cowboys D chalk because he knew he was going to have Trubisky low owned, have Allen Robinson. If you had a more chalky stack, you probably don't want to play the chalky defense. Dick Chuck, that was your lineup. It wasn't a bad lineup, guys. It wasn't a bad lineup. What are our other housekeeping things? I haven't put up the week 15 league yet. I will post that in the comments down below if you'd like to join. It's been filling up pretty fast. It's normally filled by Wednesday or Thursday. So hop in that early if you'd like to do that. We got Siler in the chat earlier. If you guys want to join us in the Discord, we're talking about NBA DFS. We got NBA DFS channels now in the Discord. If you guys want to come in there, talk about my guy, Matthew Dellavedova, Alex Caruso, all the other NBA players that I could name. I could name so many NBA players. I could probably just do this stream until 2 p.m. Eastern, just listing off NBA players. Anyways, as always, I appreciate you guys joining in. If you want more tilt, more kind of process talk, you can tune into the tilt space from last night. Joe and Leone and I kind of talking through some of those decisions. I'll be back tonight at 7:30 p.m. Eastern here with Joe Holka to talk Showdown. See if we can get some of that Joe Holka magic, some of that runoff Joe Holka magic. We can tail him. And yeah, thank you to RotoGrinders for having us. Make sure you guys are subscribed to both channels wherever you are watching. I will be back on Friday as well for another build show. I haven't booked a guest yet. I have a few people I'm going to reach out to. We'll get a guest, and we will keep plugging away. Only a few more really good main slates before the playoffs. But we're doing it, guys. I mean, pull up the spreadsheet here real quick once more. We're still profitable in the Bankroll Challenge. Started with 1,000, current bankroll at 1,800. Unless I get horribly out of control and out of line with my bankroll management, it's going to be a profitable year for the RotoGrinders Single Entry Challenge. And that, my friends, is something we can hang our heads on. Have a wonderful Monday. We'll see you guys tonight at 7:30.